Good morning, my name is Purely Depp, your favorite Depp rapper. Today I'm going to be talking about the slow it down technique that Conceited is well known for using. I do highly recommend that if you have not seen it, you check out episode number 8. I'm going to leave a link in the description. But I want to make sure we're on the same page in terms of what I mean by wordplay and what I mean by punchlines. Real quick, I'm going to roll this clip and we can talk about it after.
I watch cartoons, so I don't care what whoever thinks. Magic School Bus, Tom and Jerry. Slow it down, I just dissed you. I said whoever think Magic School Buster, Tom and Jerry.
So if you really break down the technique that he uses, all he's really doing is typical run-of-the-mill wordplay. He added in his own little catchphrase and then that became part of his signature style. But at the very core, it's exactly like every wordplay that's ever been done, ever. So in episode number 8, I had an example from Rum Nitty. Something like, they really envy our life like an Oculus. Going back to the typical X like Y format, X is basically they envy our life, and then when you hear the word Oculus, you have to kind of revisit this sentence right here, and then hopefully you understand that the double meaning there is in VR life. Again, I consider this to be a form of wordplay because you're basically manipulating words phonetically so that they sound like different things. Another basic example that has been done way too many times is something like overreacting and overreacting. You're basically taking a word and breaking it into parts in order to make a different meaning. Theoretically, Conceited could have structured this kind of like an X like Y punchline where you had something like, whoever thinks Magic School Buster, Tom and Jerry, and then the Y could be something like Sunday cartoons or some shit like that. The point that I'm getting at is there's no reason why this could not have been an X like Y punchline. Really, the one difference between this and an X like Y punchline is that there is no Y. Instead, rather than letting the audience figure it out for themselves what happened, he basically just explains it to them. If you recall, the idea behind a punchline is you sneak in a double meaning, so when people hear the Y, they realize there's a hidden meaning, go back, revisit it, and then realize, oh, there's a second meaning here. What Conceited does is he'll sneak in the double meaning, but rather than let the audience figure out for themselves that he snuck in a hidden meaning, he basically just tells them what the hidden meaning is. And at the core, he pretty much always uses wordplay to create that double meaning. So if you find yourself thinking of different ideas and you come up with the wordplay, so you could do something like your girl misogynistic like fill in the blank, or if you find yourself having a hard time trying to come up with, what the Y is supposed to be, that might be an opportunity for you to just get rid of the Y. And you don't have to say slow it down for it to work. You could be like, yo, your girl misogynistic. What, y'all ain't catch that? I said she misogynistic. It's really the exact same technique, it just doesn't have that catchphrase. Personally, I like traditional punchlines more than this, but I want to show you 2 more clips of the exact same technique. One is from Conceited and one is from 100 Bullets.
Honestly, I'll go all in this house. The flame turn his brains into change. It'll be all in the couch. Any survivors left in that lock in the sprout? You guys want to take shots, then Captain Morgan's comes out. Slow it down, I just dissed you. You guys want to take shots, get capped, and more guns come out. Slow it down once more. You want to take shots, get capped, then organs come out.
All right, here's an example from 100 Bullets doing the same technique.
Power left, let's go.
All right, look. Some people hate slow it downs.
Yep.
They like, boy, stop with the similes. Well, if you a slave to the game, pick it. Start boycotting the industry. I said, if you a slave to the game, pick it. Now boycott in the industry. Real talk, that was whack. I said, if you a slave to the game, pick it. Now boycott in the industry.
All right, so here's 2 different examples of the slow it down technique. The difference between these 2 implementations and the first one that I showed you is that these 2 both kind of have a triple entendre. It's almost like instead of breaking down the word one time to create a wordplay, you're breaking it down another time. So you kind of have it all compacted and then you just start unpacking each, individual meaning. This is really good for actually explaining to the audience, what's going on, because in this particular context, I think it would be very difficult to try to find a Y that can also explain a triple entendre, especially when you kind of have nested wordplay like this. The first thing that Conceited said was, Captain Morgan's come out. Then he took the word Morgans and then kind of broke it apart into more guns. He also took the word captain and broke it into cap then. Then he took more guns and tried to break it apart even more. So something like capped them organs come out. 100 Bullets basically did the same thing, more or less going from boycotting the industry to boycott in the industry, to boycott in the industry. One minor thing that I wanted to point out that you may or may not be aware of, but very often the emphasis that we put on our words is what determines what message we're sending to other people. For example, if I said, I didn't give her $20, this sentence can imply a couple different things depending on how I emphasize it. I could say, I didn't give her $20. That implies someone else gave her $20. I could say, I didn't give her $20. That just means I did not give her $20. I could say, I didn't give her $20. That kind of implies I gave her $20, but not for free. I could say, I didn't give her $20. That implies I gave somebody else $20. And then if I said I didn't give her $20, then that means I probably gave her an amount other than $20. So it's important to know that when you're emphasizing your words, you are sending a different message to the audience. And that's why you can kind of get, two different meanings depending on whether you say, I'm boycotting the industry or boycotting the industry. And that was just a nuance that I wanted to point out. And, Conceited kind of did the same thing, especially when he has, extra emphasis on them organs coming out. And real quick, I'm going to show you one more example of the same technique, but actually kind of the opposite. So I'll go ahead and play it.
I told niggas, I'm on some other shit. Fuck slowing it down, speed it up. I told niggas, I'm a smother shit. Oh, but let me guess.
So I wanted to add this in because I thought it was a clever way of kind of re-implementing the same technique. And I think anytime in battle rap when you see people starting to catch on to a trend and everybody is emulating a particular rapper, there might be a good opportunity to do something like this where you go in pretty much the opposite direction that everybody else is going. And if you can do that, I think very often it tends to be effective because people expect something and reactions almost always come from you exceeding people's expectations. As far as the actual technique, Ill Will really didn't do anything different. He could have actually done a slow it down. He could have said, I smother shit, slow it down, I just dissed you, I'm on some other shit. And it would have been the exact same thing. So to actually pull off this technique, you're kind of just doing the exact same thing backwards. Instead of saying the word overreacting and then kind of saying slow it down and then breaking that wordplay apart, rather what you would do is you would start from the second line, the overreacting. So maybe you have a setup about, his girl talking about how her overreacting and then come up with a reason to speed it up. Now you're overreacting, something like that. But at the very core, both of these techniques are exactly the same. One of them is basically taking a word and breaking it into different parts, but the other one is taking the word that has already been broken into different parts and kind of putting it back together. But regardless of which out of these three different techniques you end up using, whether it be the traditional slow it down, the triple entendre slow it down, or the speed it up technique, at the very core, all this is wordplay. Remember that. Because it's a pretty simple thing that everybody already kind of does. Personally, if I were ever to do something like the slow it down technique, I would probably only do it for the triple entendre. That's the only time where I feel like there's a build-up and it feels impressive enough to me that I feel like it could get a reaction from the crowd. You can definitely still get a good reaction from a speed it up or a slow it down, but it really comes down to how you frame it and whether or not you can do it in a way that is unique, but in a good way. But anyhow, that is the end of this video. Thank y'all for tuning in and stay tuned for another episode.